Good morning. It's the July 12th, 2023. The power dam's running. I had to come down late last night. About midnight, turned it back on. Had a power failure for a brief period. Knocked power out. So when it knocks power out, shuts the plant off. So I had to come down and reset everything. Turn it back on. Not a major, just annoying. We've had massive amount of rain in spots. Some spots more than others. We have we're running fairly good. We're running in the 400s for our kilowatts. So that's pretty good for this time of the year. The chickens are out. I don't know why this chicken is out. She belongs over there, but she's out all the time. So she comes out, gets back in. The ducks are doing their thing. You can see they're out there. They actually love the rain, so there they go, waddling along. Anyways, we're not getting any eggs out of here yet, so we are getting some out of the other chickens still, and that's just they're just not ready yet. So give them another month, and we'll start seeing something. Checking over here for their laying spot. We don't have any eggs in there as of yet, so we'll check them before we leave. Yesterday morning, actually, yesterday morning, about 1 a.m., one of the hamlets up north, Blue Mountain Lake, got a call out by the fire department and their EMS for a rescue, and it was a strange call. I heard the tones go out, and I always wake up and hear who it is, and then in case we have to go for mutual aid. Anyways, so their tones go out for a rescue on a road called Wells Road. Wells Road is up north, up by Blue Mountain Lake, by the museum. That would be the Adirondack Museum. The thing that sparked my interest when I heard it was the people on the road were saying they had water coming in their front door, which is never a good thing. There's not much on that road that would create huge flows, so like no dams, no nothing. So and it had been raining. We knew it was raining down here. Blue Mountain is probably 30 miles north. Go up Route 30. So anyway, so they called out. They called and there's like 5 or 6 guys is all that the department has on it, and they're all older guys, older than me. We got a couple younger, but anywho, they called them out. They took off. They went and they said, "What are we supposed to do? We can't, do you want us just to block the roads off, or what?" And I'm thinking, that doesn't make any sense. Then they called and said, "We need manpower. Retone us and see if we can get some more men out here." So they retoned, and now the hamlet has only a handful of people living in it. Although it is a prominent thing, and it's a very beautiful destination, a beautiful area. So there's lots of camps there. Off they went. So they toned them out. They didn't have any response. Uh, they requested a third tone, and the Indian Lake Fire Chief, uh, Indian Lake is their mutual aid department, and he was already on his way up there to find out what was going on. So he managed to he called in and said, tone us out, after speaking with their chief, of course. Tone Indian Lake out, so Indian Lake got toned out. Then he said on the radio, the roads are all gone, the bridges are all gone. I started to get a little bit nervous, going, what in the world is going on? Because it wasn't raining that hard here. About an hour, well, probably 40 minutes later, they toned out Indian Lake Ambulance, and they called out their crew, the crew that was on call, the on-call crew, and the standby crew. And I'm like, man, what in the world? Indian Lake was up there with their boats. The forest rangers were there, trying to get in from Long Lake, which is north of Blue Mountain. Then they called out for the deputies to get there. They had to call the deputies at home. Our county, they go to bed. So, anyways, so the deputies went out, and I'm thinking, man, what's going on? And then I heard the emergency manager come through town, and she's right on top. She's great. She's great. So I heard Jill on the radio, and she got up there, got things started coordinating, and then they said we have to go back to the fire station, set up a command center, and then we'll get a list of resources that we need. I'm thinking, what in the world is going on? Now by this time it's 2:30 in the morning. I'm lying in bed, still hearing it on the fire page, going, holy crap. Finally, at some point, they were chitter-chatter back and forth, checking roads, trying to get places. And, mind you, there are camps, private camps, there are recreational camps, there are boys' camps, there are girls' camps. All of them are right there in that area. There's a couple different state campsites there, and I'm thinking, what? In my mind, I'm trying to fathom what's going on, and I thought, okay, they had a bridge go down, or a bridge collapse because of the heavy rain or heavy flow or whatever. About 3:30, they paged us out, Speculator out, to go there, bring our four-wheeler, manpower to the Indian Lake Station with an engine, and bring our Stokes boards and we have a wheeled cart that it's basically a backboard with wheels on it for rescue. So we get up there. Now we get up there, and it's by the time we get there, get in the station, get everything all situated. It's just after it's about 4:30, and we started ascertaining. Now we knew something was going on, and it was big. But when we got there, one of the guys was filling us in. Said there's no roads. All the roads are washed out. The hill's gone. The road going up the mountain that was route 30 and going north is gone. There's bridges that are missing. Long Lake, the village of Long Lake became an island because you couldn't get there. bridges north and bridges south. Bridges north of there, and bridges off going out to the east. 2 roads. Remember, you usually have 2 or 3 roads coming into your hamlet, and so all the roads were closed with the bridges out. They did finally call our 4-wheeler up to Blue Mountain Lake, and we started finding out a little bit more of what was going on. By 5 a.m., it had rained almost 6 inches in about 6 hours. So the runoff with that undermined roads, pushed boulders down through, took out bridges and culverts, anything that was moving water. It just inundated it. Would plug up the tile, boom, tile would be gone. So they had boulders that were bigger than cars sitting in the road. The asphalt's gone, just crumbled and gone away, and they had several houses that were basically in water, up to the windows of the first floor, and the water was still rising at 8 o'clock. The water was still rising. One of the small lakes, there was a man-made lake. The levee broke. Levee at one of the causeway levees in Long Lake broke. So it was quite the thing. The Long Lake couldn't get out. They had sent people down to as far down towards Blue Mountain as they could to help. Now picture in your mind this road that goes up the side of a mountain. Now it's not a nice gentle 6-degree incline like everybody likes. This is an incline like this. It's windy, it's curvy, and of course the water runs right down beside it because there's a path for it to go. And it took out every bit of that road. And that's a state highway. So we ended up having we had the DEC emergency management team was there. They had an emergency manager. The state fire had an emergency manager there. We had the state emergency management team was there. They had coordinators for the Adirondack Park Agency, and here. So I back up a little bit and tell you about that. Here, you just can't go and put a culvert in a road and cover it up and say, there you go. You've got to get DEC approval and the Adirondack Park Agency's approval because it's got to be native material. It can't have any blah blah this. It's got to fit in with that soil that's already there. Can't be something different than what it was. Blah blah blah. So they were ordered by the governor that whatever we were putting in there was absolutely fine and to accept whatever we did. So whatever was happening, I didn't do it. We didn't do it. The road crews were up there working. They had private contractors. They had the county trucks. They had the state trucks, town trucks, and hauling gravel from one point to the other to build the road to get up there. They got the roads in. They've got everything up there. They were working on it. They started working on it at 5 yesterday morning just to get the road passable. At a little after 8 last night, they said the road was the roadway was open. What that means is you can get through it. By 9 o'clock yesterday morning, they had one lane that was, you go up this way, jump over this way, go this way, jump over this way, and back and forth. That was open in case you had emergencies. Helicopters were readily available, for any ambulance calls or anything. But so it was a long day yesterday. Then I was supposed to go to a Navion. That's the instantaneous water heater boiler wall hung units. I was supposed to go to a level 3 training, which would make me basically a certified warranty tech for them. That was in Syracuse, and I would have to leave here by 10:30 to be there for the training. It would last 4 hours. We started at 1. I would get out of there 5:30-ish, and then have to drive home. Well, when we got called up there, and I said, "There's just no way." I was already up since I was awake. Interrupted sleep since 1. So I canceled that for me. I told them I'd take the next class, and they understood, because kind of find out it was all the way across the northern end of, or northern New York. Got inundated with the flash flooding. Several roads, several communities. The town of Saranac Lake, which is just before Lake Placid, the main highway through there was washed out underneath by 4 feet. So in spots. So 4 foot underneath the road was gone. So they had to bust that up and start making improvements to that. So they're still working on that one. They were checking roads. We have an old ore where they were pulling iron ore out of the mountain. It's called Tuanis, and it was an ore way back in the 1800s, and they had a mine there. It's still parts of the furnaces still there. You can go there and see it. Blah blah blah. So they were going up to that road to check that road, check it in, and the federal government was already there checking on that. That was, now they don't use them. They don't ore any more out of there. It's not in use for ore. But the interesting thing was, some of the old timers from that were up there, the older timers than me, were up there. We're talking about, that's still, the federal government still owns all that. And it's like, really? Well, that's kind of interesting. I knew that they were using the iron ore during World War II, and they actually put the railroad tracks in there. And the one old timer said, though they used some of the ore, but they also found uranium. And they were using that uranium out of there. They built the first bombs. So I said, I did not know that. And he said, they don't let anybody know that. But they're still, it's still closed off. And you can see it's all fenced off, and, the roads are all blocked, but they're good roads to it. The railroad track is technically abandoned, but they're not tearing the tracks out. So, and the government said, "Oh no, you're not taking the tracks out. In case we have a war, we need that. We need iron ore out of there, which makes sense. But then I found out the uranium connection, and that yep, they're not going to close that. They're going to keep that secure. But anyways, they didn't lose any bridges. They didn't lose anything because their bridges are. They have. So it was amazing when we went up there because it was like there's a really beautiful bridge right there, and on the other side of that bridge is a gate, and you can't. And it's not just a fence. It's a 6-foot fence. Says no trespassing. Blah blah blah. And there's like 3 cars that are there. So it's like no, but I assumed that they were still doing, some of the mining there, and it's just mining operations. It's basically a strip mine. They didn't know there's no tunnels, no caves, it was right there on top. But that's that was an interesting connection that I found yesterday, and there had always been people saying that the federal government was really interested in that land up there back in the day, and sure enough, that's why the federal government was interested in it. If the story is true, these guys had no reason to lie about it, so they really don't care. So you kind of take that at a little more face value when they're not really embellishing it, and they just say, oh well, that's because they got that one building there. They still have uranium in it. Really? So, but anyway, so the road to Tawanis was still good, but the campsites, they had to evacuate people out of there. A couple of the hedges, other sites were like the hedges. They had 45 cars in there that they had 45 people with their cars they had to evacuate out of there. Up in Long Lake, there's a section of the road called Langley Road, and Sir Gordon Weaver has a camp up there, and they mandatorily evacuated everybody out of that. So that's basically multi-millionaire row, and because the average millionaire can't afford a place there, but all through there they had evacuations. The interesting thing was the people that were running the river rafting were still running charters. They were still putting people down the Hudson River, and you're like, you gotta be kidding me. But and they do the Hudson River Gorge is right up through there, that location, and they do whitewater rafting through it. It's not the mile wide or 2 mile wide Hudson River that is running through New York City. Up here, most of it you could walk across, and it might be waist deep in spots. I'm sure yesterday it was probably over your head and moving really, really fast. So that was yesterday. Didn't get home from that until about noon. And then I went and got chicken feed. Got them. Sarah came down and did her thing with the chickens. So that took care of that. Then I came in last night. I did my thing yesterday evening, and things looked pretty good. Then for some reason the power went out, so who knows? I don't know if it was related or if they had a tree fall down, which happens all the time. But it was interesting. This morning we're having trouble with the internet here. I'm having trouble with my paperwork. I call it the paperwork computer. It's not a control computer anymore. The control computer works fantastic. The paperwork computer keeps shutting off on me, so I think it's dying. So what I'm going to need to do a memory dump into that get all the information that's on there into a disk, and then probably replace that computer. But anyways, so today I'm going up to my buddy Vladimir's, my Russian parents, and interesting story there. But we got to do a. We're going to work on the electrical system. Just moving some wires around in boxes. So then we're going to go see the other Russians that are up there in Lake. They're I call them the dirty Russians, but that's not nice. But they're not the cleanest people. So that being said, I got to go see them. I know what they want. They want a plug-in put in for their generator. So we're gonna look that over, figure out what I got to do there, get them on the schedule for next week or the week after, and do that. Then I got to come back and fix the water heater. Once you get the water heater fixed, then we'll call it a day. So the water heater needs a new gas valve. So and when I do that, I buy a pilot assembly just at the same time, and just be done. So the interesting story with my adopted parents, the Russians. While I was in hospital in February, they had contacted me, and I told them I was in the hospital. I couldn't do anything, and it was not a problem. She decided that she needed to come see me. Now they live in Baltimore. She is a rocket scientist for NASA. He's a scientist for the Antarctic expedition. He's the lead scientist on the South Pole expedition. Anyways, she went out and bought me a big jug of tea. And she was going to the hospital. She told Vladimir, "I'm going to the hospital. I gotta go see Glenn." and they are not Russians. They were from Georgia, so the country of Georgia. Vladimir himself was from Siberia, but he said he will be fine. The doctors are taking care of it. But she said, "Well, I'm a doctor too." And I told her, I really appreciate